Hey everyone, Ronnie Chalvis here, and today we're going to be talking about balance and learning how to improve our balance. Balance is extremely important for parkour because you're balancing all the time. In every type of movement you're doing, you're having to learn how to balance your body, whether it's in a jump or a vault or a precision jump, so that you can do it successfully and not get injured. But more specifically, we're going to be focusing on balancing on small objects like handrails or ledges or anything where you have to be able to maintain your balance. So first off, to improve your balance, you're gonna wanna just balance more often. I feel like a lot of people don't train their balance enough. They're training the big cool tricks, the flips, the cat leaps, all these things, but balance is something that often gets underutilized because it's just not as exciting, not as crazy, but it can be just as crazy when you're balancing on a ledge 100 feet in the air. Not that I recommend or encourage anyone to do that, but to just practice the foundational aspects of balance will just improve your overall body coordination. So balance a lot, balance all the time. So if you've never balanced on a handrail before, we're gonna jump into how you can get started balancing on a handrail and be comfortable with it. Obviously you wanna be comfortable if you fall off, that you can jump, it's at a height that you're comfortable falling off of, and that you can get onto it. So there's a couple different ways to get onto the handrail. The most basic one is just stepping one foot at a time and then just kind of pushing yourself up and then trying to keep your balance. Now sometimes the first time you try and get up on the handrail, it's gonna be more like this. You're gonna try and push yourself up and then you're gonna get up and fall off. And that's okay because right now you're just trying to figure out how to center your body over the handrail as you first get up to it. So after a few tries of doing that, you'll be able to start feeling which way you're leaning and falling, and eventually you might get one where you can get up and stick it and stay up. And then from here, it's a matter of how long you can balance on the handrail for. That'll be the most important thing to practice right now, is just balancing on the handrail, maybe walking back and forth a little bit. It's just improving your balance. When balancing on the handrail, you want to keep your knees slightly bent because this is going to give you more room to move up and down if you're losing your balance. I like to keep my arms out a little bit because it gives me a little bit of a counterbalance here. You can also practice balancing on just one leg, and that also gives you another counterbalance with your opposite leg. So our next step to getting on the handrail is going to be a more challenging one that'll help if you already are comfortable with getting up onto the handrail. Normally is to do just a pop-up onto the handrail. This is like you're gonna do a little Kong vault, a little pop-up vault, and then you're just going to aim either the balls of your feet or the center of your foot if you're less comfortable. That's a safer spot to land, but you'll have a little bit more control if you're just slightly on the balls of your feet and have a little bit more room to jump off or pounce if you need to. So basically, you're going to jump up, try and keep your center of gravity over the rail, keep your knees bent, keep your ankles and everything in control as you try and stand up and maintain your balance. Now the higher that you can pop up onto it landing straight up, the easier it'll be to catch your balance because it's harder to balance when you're squatted super low. So the higher you can pop up and land in the right position to keep your balance, the easier it'll be. Now when popping onto a handrail, you want to make sure you avoid landing on the tips of your toes or on your heels because there's a lot less room for error there. If your shoes are kind of slick, then they might just pop off and then you'll bang your shin. Or if you land on your heels, you can slip off backwards and do a crazy backflip onto your head, which you don't want to happen. So make sure you're always aiming for the ball of your foot or the center of your foot, wherever you feel most comfortable. So after you've gotten comfortable with just the pop-up, we can now practice shifting. This is where you rotate on your feet on the handrail. Whether it's to turn around or change directions, it's good to practice the balance while shifting your weight, turning your body. And how you do this will depend on how grippy your shoes are, because some shoes are so grippy to the handrail that it's hard to turn them. Part of it is being able to shift your weight so that it's taking some of the weight off of each foot as you turn, and also keeping your foot as centered as possible as you shift. You don't want to be here and then as you shift end up with your foot most of the way off. So an example of the shift is when you first do the pop-up onto the rail and then have to shift to face the same direction On the rail, you're walking along. And then if I want to turn around once again, I'm going to have to do that shift again. So to practice the shift, you can start by just doing little slow shifts from here to here, you know, and you'll probably fall off a few times, which is okay. You're just practicing the motion. And the reason why it's really good to stay on your toes while you're practicing these things is because if you do lose your balance, it's easy to jump and pop off. You're not slipping off and falling. And just staying in like a ready to pounce position will allow you to be safer while you bounce. So if you do lose your balance, you can pop off and control it instead of being at the whim of the handrail and you slipping. Okay, now that you're starting to master your balance on the handrail, you can jump up onto it, you can shift, you can walk along it. Here are some exercises to improve your speed on the handrail. The first one is to simply practice going a little bit faster. Now in going a little bit faster, once again, make sure you keep your knees bent, keep your center of gravity kind of low. Typically when I'm balancing normally, I keep my foot centered on the handrail, but when I'm going a bit faster, I'm actually going to turn my feet out a little bit because it gives me a little bit more room to make sure I hit the handrail correctly. Because if I'm going fast, aiming like this, but I end up landing here, I'm gonna clip off. So when going fast, I'm gonna instead just angle my feet a little bit so there's a little bit less room for error. You can speed up, practice going back and forth, and just go as comfortable, just go as fast as you're comfortable. Never go faster than you have the control and coordination for. Just take it really slow at first, and you'll start improving your balance. Some other exercises include doing walking squats while on the handrail. So this is going to train you to keep your balance all the way through the squatting position and standing up while balancing. So when I'm here, I bend my knees all the way down. At this point, mostly using my arms for balance and my hips a little bit. Stand back up, take another step, squat all the way down, stand back up, and you can just do this going down as long as you can keep your balance for. This is muscle strengthening as well as balance training. Doing the squat is activating all your muscles in your legs so that you're balancing with your muscles and not just letting your body fly around everywhere. So it's giving you more muscle control to practice strengthening exercises while you practice balance. The next squat you can practice, which will be a little bit more challenging, is being perpendicular to the handrail. Now this gives you a lot less balance because, I'm trying to talk and balance at the same time. Gives you a lot less balance because you have less surface area on the rail to push against it to maintain balance in your feet. So here it's a lot more in your hips and knees to maintain balance, and kind of the way you keep everything centered over the rail. There's just a lot for it to go wrong. So this is more challenging, especially while I'm trying to talk here. And just doing squats like that, trying to keep your balance. So once again, challenging you in a different way while improving your balance. Along the same line, you can then do shuffles, which are an even harder way to keep balance because you're lifting one foot at a time in a way that's not supernatural. You can go both directions. A lot of the balance here is in my butt and hips going back and forth. Whew. My arms a little bit. There I would have fallen off, but I had a wall to push onto. You can sometimes cheat if you're close to a wall. You can use things like that. So at this point, you already have your balance down. Now we're just trying to make the balance more challenging and more interesting, because just normal balancing might get boring for you after a while. But if you're finding ways to challenge yourself while trying to balance, these are interesting ways to do it. Another one is to walk backwards on the handrail. So the last technique we're going to go over for improving your balance will mainly apply to precision jumps on handrails. So when jumping to a handrail with momentum, you don't ever want to land flat-footed or with your foot completely flat like this. Unless your shoes are extremely grippy, you can get away with it, but it's still risky even then. You always want to have your foot slightly angled, landing on the center of the rail, and the angle is based on the direction you're coming into the rail and how much momentum you have. So if I'm jumping up onto it, I might be leaning back a little bit more so my momentum pushes me up onto it. If I'm coming down on it from something higher, then I can have a higher angle, but it's still going to be angled slightly so that I can hit it, absorb the impact. And as long as my feet are angled and centered at the exact spot from the trajectory of my momentum coming into the handrail, then I usually won't ever slip unless it's an extremely slippery handrail. So always check your surface for that, but just practice getting aware of how you need to angle and hit the handrail to stick to it so that you don't have to worry about slipping off. And then same thing when you're jumping from a handrail, there's the risk of slipping. And so just like the way you come into it, you want to angle your foot and the center foot placement based on the trajectory of your momentum. It's the same thing based on where you're jumping. So if you're jumping up and forward, then you're going to want to have your feet slightly angled so that it's pushing directly against the rail and not like across the top of it so that you don't slip as you push away. So it's all about finding those angles so that you're pushing straight on the rail instead of relying on the friction of your shoes to push away from the rail. So there you have it. There's some tips for helping you improve your balance, things you can practice and things to think about while you're practicing. Remember, the main thing is to keep your center of gravity slightly low with your knees bent and controlling your ankles and arms. If you want to be like monkey style, you can have your arms up here, do it like people do it on a slack line. Or if you want to be more Assassin's Creed style, keep your hands low down here. It's totally up to you to mess around with it and just practice a variety of different ways to balance will overall improve your balance for any situation you might come to. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what tutorials you'd like to see in the future. But otherwise, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button so you can stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Thanks for watching.